So the year's 2011, and I'm on my way to Heroes Con in Charlotte. I usually go nearly every year. A friend and I make a pilgrimage out of it. It's one of the last remaining things in comics that we still love. That still reminds us of our childhood. We, a lot of it's a huge business now, multi-billion-dollar business, and there's a lot of corporations and money to be had and influence. And for some of us older comic fans, the fun has gotten squeezed out of it, certain movies aside. So heading down to this particular convention, normally I roll down and just roll around like a kid in a candy store. There's toys, there's videos, underground videos, stuff you haven't seen in a long time, maybe in TV, was never put on DVD. There's action figures, there's video games, there's just people like you who love comics, and they're dressed up and they're talking about it and they're debating it, and it's just everyone's having a good time. It's like a family reunion, except you might know 2 or 3 people there, but you're all family. You're all comic book lovers and nerds and geeks, and it's fantastic. But this year, in 2011, I had a specific purpose to sort of vent my frustration and the fact that really conventions was the only spot, my last oasis for the love that I used to have. I was finally going to step to somebody, one of the creators. I was going to talk to the people behind the comics and the page and the art and the industry, and vent my grievances and be like, look, stuff like representation, minority and gender and just the same old thing, the corporateness of it. And of course, I was going to pick somebody who stood out. One of those people who were like, okay, yeah, they're popular, do a lot of great stuff. I picked Darwyn Cooke. It just happened to be him. He has done incredible work, as most everyone in the business knows, even some not in the business. We're talking breaking industry and doing Batman Beyond, working on, even before that, Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, covers galore. But it was New Frontier, his Justice League New Frontier for DC that kind of propelled him, and not everyone on their keister, including myself. But one to go along with the many complaints that I had, one of the most powerful points in his story, in his New Frontier story, dealt with one of the few, if not really the only, person of color, American, in the story. And out of a collected story of, I'd say about 150, close to 200 pages, it was 13 pages total for this character. And not all of those were of him specifically, because they also, that character also died. So it was kind of twofold. I'm like, we had a really powerful character, but he was only in like really 11 pages total of this thick, wonderful, gorgeous story, and you killed him. So it was kind of twofold. So it's one of those things, and I'm like, it's on the list of millions of things. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna step to him. He's gonna be at this convention. We're gonna have it out. So going to this convention, and I didn't know what to expect, really. I had never seen a picture of the guy. Usually when I like an artist, I just like them through their work, so they sort of look like the way that they draw. And once obviously this is logical, once I realized I was getting ready to go talk to this guy, and I was trying to picture him, I pictured this sort of round, burly, bearded, glasses, I don't know, Burl Ives, kind of Santa Claus looking dude. Don't ask me why. Or maybe some young hip kid, super tight pants, slick black, dark hair, you know, pocket, maybe even a bow tie because he was cool like that. Not what it was. Wasn't even close. When I got up to him, and it was just a guy, you know, just was kind of there. What struck me was he was wearing a dark blue beat up Napa Auto Parts racing cap, you know, and I thought the hat looked like something you would see in a NASCAR race, you know, but the way that I pictured those people, he didn't look like that. So already I'm kind of off my game, but still determined. Put my foot down, and I stared him in the eye, and I was like, look. And he had, just before me, he had been signing, talking, and I could hear he was intelligent and very nice, and, you know, very congenial to everyone. Wasn't going to let that dissuade me. And I got to him, and I had my copy of New Frontier. And I kind of set it down. I looked at him, he was sitting down. So I was looking down at him, and he looked up at me, and he was smiling. And it was sort of like, instantly I felt like a jerk, because I was going to lay into him a little bit. And up until then, I'd been having fun. Everybody was having fun. So, kind of took a deep breath, got down on one knee so I could look him straight in the eye. He was sitting down, and I sort of did the math in my head. And I looked and saw the line that I had just traversed of tons of fans who were waiting their turn. Patiently, we do that. And I realized that the conversation I wanted to have, the venting I wanted to do, there wasn't enough time. Like, even if he took time to hear me, he wasn't going to take time to listen because he doesn't have time for that because convention and everybody's having fun. So I was kind of defeated almost instantly without having really said a word. So I kind of sighed, and he had taken my copy and was like, hey, you got New Frontier. You want me to sign it for you? And that's what he had been doing. And he flipped it open and was going to do inside cover like he had been doing most people. I was like, no, wait. And he stopped and looked at me and I was like, I don't want you to sign it there. I want you to sign it on a specific page. He was like, which page? And I chose the character. I was like, can you sign it here? And he kind of stopped and looked at me. And I said, because there's a lot of stuff I want to say about this story. And I told him it was a beautiful story, and I loved it the moment I read it. But it still upset me. And I realized, I looked at the line, like, you don't have time to discuss it now, but maybe in the future. And I wasn't even giving any specific details. Some other time we can discuss it. And I looked at him, and now I realize he's looking right in my eyes, like directly, and his eyes got a little big. He was like, you know what? Okay. And he whipped out a card and signed it, wrote down his email address. So for the second time he caught me off guard. One, from just the way he looked and carried himself. Two, he's writing down this email. And instantly I recovered, and I'm like, you know, it's probably a business card or whatever. He does this all the time, sees people. And I looked at the card, and the address has his name and his wife's name in it. Now, I don't know how much business they both do. Maybe she was his, you know, liaison and handled some of his stuff. But it still, for the third time, caught me off guard. And I thought that was very touching, sincere, genuine. And as he's writing it down, and he slid it to me, and I'm looking at it, now he's signing that page. And he says, here's my email. and write me, and we'll talk. And as he's telling me this now, he slid over to me, he's signing the page. He says, because anybody who wants to talk about John Henry, I want to talk to. And he was like, apologize, I don't have time now. And he gestured towards the line, and I was like, obviously. And he signed it, and then shook my hand. He was like, and he pointed at the card and was like, let me know. And I was like, okay. And that was my meeting with Darwyn Cooke. Once I got home, first I kind of bragged about it to my fellow comic friends. Like, look at this. And I wouldn't show them the whole thing. I was like, it's got his wife's name on it. And everybody was like, really? And sort of the same collective, like, it's just his business. You know, he gets that. Wait, it's got his wife's name on it? And, but here was the thing, good and bad. The few times that I sat down at the computer to write him, I was still mad. And I realized the stuff that I was going to type, that I was going to write and send to him, was me venting and dumping like all my angers and issues at his doorstep. So I sort of checked myself, because that meeting really, just that, like, I don't know, 5 minutes tops. Just that 5-minute meeting with him was very, like I said, genuine. And I was respectful of that, tried to be. And realized the stuff that I was going to write was not going to be respectful. So I was like, all right, take your time, calm down. You've got the address. He's not going anywhere. He's popular. He's never going to lack for work or opportunities. So I had always planned on meeting him. That's just one of those things. Life goes on, but it was always in the back of my head. I'm like, one of these days, I can contact him. I'm gonna talk to Darwyn Cooke. And then I rolled into the comic store last month and saw the owner had put up a lot of his variant covers up on the wall. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. You brought these back out. Trying to just sell the last few, and I had already bought 2 copies of most of them myself. And he was like, yeah, that was a real shame how that happened. And I was like, what? He was like, well, he passed away 2 days ago. And it's one of those things. I remember I stood there, and 2 things occurred to me. 1, that I was standing there stunned, and 2, that I wasn't stunned when I heard about Prince or Bowie or even Ali. I guess it was the fact that while they're all of them huge stars, most of them they've gone beyond stardom, definitely Ali. I'd never met them. And Darwyn Cooke I had, and made an impression instantly, and a good one, a lasting one. And I was really hurt. I was really hurt. And they told me that he had been ill, and it was probably, for the best, and what he was suffering from. But being an only child and kind of spoiled, I realized I was kind of upset for myself, because I felt I had missed my chance. And that's usually the way when you lose someone. You feel, they're not in pain anymore, and they're suffering. It's the rest of us here who have to go on without them. So it took me a while. I had to go walk and shake that off, but I thought, here's a guy who changed not only my opinion of him almost instantly, but even the comic industry. Because for the most part, I was pretty jaded and thought, they're all after the same thing. If they're not after it, they're just being controlled by the people who are after it. And here was a guy who clearly was not of that ilk, and genuine. Something I should have realized from the work that he put down on the page. So I kind of realized how lucky I was to have met him. And that's sort of the way you have to, I think, have to view it. You know, for the people, when we lose someone like an Ali or a Prince or Darwyn Cooke, even Mike Rowingo, who is a famous artist, local artist to this area. When you lose someone like that, especially before their time, you think on and focus on what they've left behind and what they've given you. And Darwyn Cooke has given us lots of gold, lots of priceless treasures to remember him by and share with each other. So to his family and his close and personal friends and loved ones, you know, my respects. And to the rest of us who didn't know him or just barely knew him, be grateful, be happy. He's left us with a lot of gifts that he shared with us, and I hope he can find peace and is happy. Thank you.